Hello, folks. We're doing a mystery race night of an indie game that's currently free on Steam. It looks like for a month it's free.
Yeah, till like the 22nd of September, I think.
That game is Weapon of Choice DX.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass along to them that we're gonna be playing on normal mode.
Yeah, it is free to claim right now. If you'd like to try it, we might.
Free to claim, free to keep.
Like what we see, and I think we will. We'll maybe consider doing a speedrun event of this.
Yeah, if players are down for it. I just watching the trailer on Steam, I was instantly hit with that it would probably have some pretty good speed tech. So if players are enjoying it and are interested in going for it, then we'll do it.
I am all set.
Give them the start. All right, I've given them the start. They've been told normal mode. This game has a number of endings. I'm not terribly concerned with what route in the story they take. It genuinely doesn't matter. Supposedly this game has like 7 different maps, and a normal playthrough will visit like 3 or 4 of them, 2 or 3 of them, something like that. So I think that if our players didn't have too much trouble, this could be completed in like 15 minutes, but I don't necessarily expect that'll be the case. So this mechanic that you just saw on Digi's screen, and we'll probably see a bunch of it now on Patty B's screen, is what the game refers to as death brushing. Basically, if you're in a position where you're about to take damage, time slows down and gives you an opportunity to kind of plan better and usually prevent your own death. So it kind of has a cool, I don't know, an action feel from those slowdown moments.
That's that music fade in and out.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with the people who made this game. This game's about 10 years old now. They did a re-release of a, like, quote-unquote deluxe version of the game, specifically to coincide with a new game that they're releasing pretty soon. So that's why this game is free, is because it's older and they have a new game coming out. But thought we'd take a look at this one.
Coming like a space marine.
All the characters have some pretty cool mechanics. The thing that really struck me as maybe opening the door to cool speed tech is the first character that most players chose, because he's the first character in the list. He has a jet engine as a gun, and the secondary fire on it, you can basically fly for short bursts very quickly. And so really felt like that had a lot of potential for extremely obvious speed tech. But all the characters have some pretty interesting things going on. The character that Lamsey's using right now, she can split into 2, like be in 2 places at once, and you control both of them simultaneously. And she also has like spider arms on her backpack that she can use to scale walls and ceilings.
It doesn't play anything like this really, but it reminds me of a game called Soldat that I had. My sister was in the like exchange student program, so we had a Finnish visitor for a year, and he would play that nonstop. It's a game that looked like this, that was multiplayer versus, and they would just blast each other. And it was also free.
Yeah.
Non-stop, just 24/7 playing Soldat on the PC.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that game.
I would say it has a lot in common with like Worms Armageddon or something like that. but action. Kind of like this though, really. It really is similar. This is this Contra-like style, but that was multiplayer. This is fancy looking. That bullet time is interesting. The physics on the branch. The weird Genesis beasts.
This is a really interesting looking game, though. I feel like there's a lot of potential here with this game. So
You play a lot of Contras?
I haven't. I mean, growing up, I played a bunch of Contra, but I was never any good at it, and I've only ever played that one and I think Super C.
I'm ready for the Contra 3 co-op run.
You want to have to carry me through the entirety of Contra 3?
I don't think it'll be a long run like that. There's nothing you can do that would make me lose, I don't think, really. Not much, anyway. So I think we'd be done in 10 minutes, regardless. Like, you could maybe mess the camera up, like if you were just behind or something. Hey, General. Thanks for the phone call. While we're out here blasting.
No time to talk.
I was showing somebody who'd never seen Metal Gear Solid before that game, and I was trying to explain just how much the Colonel annoys you. Has never heard of radio silence, never shuts off and got a phone in your ear. It's like, let me tell you about nuclear waste. It just starts yapping. I gotta figure out these guns.
Called Ice 9. Consider the termite.
Thanks for the bits. That's a cool Castlevania creature there.
Lamsey is either picking this up really well or has played this before. They really seem to have an extremely good grasp on how to use this like splitting mechanic. I don't think the splitting mechanic's exactly impossible to figure out, but they're just making it look really good, is what I'm saying.
The crunch.
Yeah, audio's not sounding great.
There's a lot of, I don't know how else to describe them, Genesis creatures here. Sega Genesis style sprite work.
Like
Very
weirdly and
secure.
unnecessarily grotesque, is that what you're...
It's kind of like a bunch of sprites stapled together in a way that looks like if you had glued a bunch of paper sheets together.
Oh, okay, alright. So like the papercraft style, I got you.
Yeah. Treasure bosses is another way to describe them, yeah. Genesis is the console responsible for most of that art that I've ever seen. I don't know why. This boss is a good example. Big Stampy. What a creature. Looks like you have a nice continue system.
Yeah, so when one of your characters dies, one of the others can sort of fly in and take over from where they left off. But I think if all of them die, that's the end of the run. Mission failed, and you have to start over. So,
Patty just game over and is going into an area that is not the start, I don't think.
okay, so maybe there are some checkpoints throughout. When one of your characters is downed and another takes over, that character can actually pick up the body of whoever died. I'm not sure if taking them to the next area will like resurrect them to be usable again. I'm not exactly sure how that mechanic works, but it's kind of interesting. Apparently, the side of the story that Lamsey was on is extremely short. Um,
Nice village. Too bad about the spider mutants.
yeah, so I knew this game had multiple endings, and there's like most of the levels. If you want to access them all and see what they're all about, then you have to play the different story branches. Lamsey in 5 minutes managed to finish the side with the aliens branch of the story. So I told him to keep going. I was only aware of roughly how long it took to complete the other branch, and that one was more like 15 minutes.
We might have category options then.
Yeah. In the past, I think Speedbump, people who've participated in Speedbump as like a, you know, when we did the month-long competitions, I think they really resonated well with extremely short categories. So, you know, if the side with the aliens category ends up being like 3 minutes to speedrun, I think there's a few people that might appeal to.
What's your favorite gun?
I mean, I immediately go for any weapon that looks like it's gonna be good for a speedrun, and that jet engine is what originally made me interested in this game to begin with, but it does feel like every other gun is more viable as an actual weapon.
Movement speed aside, I tell you what normally is the case in Contra is the spread gun, only because it kills so many fellas, and when you get to the boss where you want that damage, they don't really have iframes in that game, so you can kind of pour out all those bullets. But in Contra 3, the missiles that have no range do a truckload of damage. Unbelievable
Right.
high. And the homing missiles are always the worst. Like, in every iteration of Contra I've ever seen, you pay the price for homing big time. They're worse than the main gun. They're worse than everything. But they work. They home really well. They are good at what they do. They just don't generally involve speed. I would be surprised if that kind of weapon is ever the choice.
The weapon that the character Digi's playing as right now, with the arcing shots. I think Digi actually just lost the character I was talking about, but the arcing shots seem like they cover a lot of space, like you're seeing on Lamsey's screen, which is both defensive and offensive. So I think that's probably the better weapon.
I love creatures. This is great. I don't even know, electric flamethrower seems pretty good. It does have the Contra 3 flamethrower vibe, which the flame weapon historically sucked until Contra 3, and then it was suddenly really good. It was just a good sweeping weapon. Does pretty good damage anyway. I don't know about the Contra 4. Contra 4 is weird. It lets you combine weapons. And I think in that game, if you combine homing twice, that actually, for some reason, is the most lethal thing. It's been a while since I played it. Doing some weird setup where you don't die at all, of course, and you combine, you last long enough to get 2 homing missiles. That, in that case, turned out to be pretty good. That's a weird one. It just like
Lamsey
upgrades.
was doing really good in that fight.
Yeah, that's true. Shmups usually have bad homing weapons as well. Surprisingly big on damage this game, so a lot of enemies show up that just don't care. I love this file cabinet thing.
This really feels like the style of every Newgrounds game I ever played.
Some of those are surprisingly good. Like,
Oh no, I grew up on playing Flash games on Newgrounds, but the art style was always the sort of papercraft because it's the easiest type to animate in Flash.
yeah, it's because of the way Flash is programmed. This is tween animations.
Yeah.
I remember when Flash died. What a disaster! what a good thing for security and a disaster for not only games but my show. I'd used it. Just they never figured out how to fix it. They just got rid of it. I think that they have an alternate player at this point that makes those games still run.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a standalone, and there's a big project for preserving them, and then for what little Flash still exists on the web, there's players for it.
Yeah, I don't think modern internet has anything as interesting as Flash was, even though it was insecure. It's very like sort of corporate look to the internet these days. They take advantage of those big resolutions though. I used to stream with Adobe Live Media Flash Encoder
Yep.
and
Back in the day.
screen capture program that is similar to window capture in OBS that was not translated, and I had to use it to grab the source to stream with that stupid thing at probably 1,000 bit rate or something because that was the highest we could get.
You were using Amarak back in the day?
It was called SCPH.
Mm.
It was untranslated software.
Are we letting Lamsey call that good, or should we go for the third route as well?
We have 16 minutes left. That's up to you. They can call it and play the chapter if that's what you told them. They barreled right through this thing. It doesn't seem like an extremely hard Contra game. I feel like Contra is mostly difficult because of the cheap shots, and this game doesn't have a whole lot of that going on. And the widescreen probably helps too. Love these boss fights. I feel like every time I look at anybody's screen, there's a boss fight going on. Right now we're fighting a coffee mug with tentacle beasts inside of it over on the top right. It's got a big fist about to punch the player.
Well, by my estimation, I was certain that one route was going to be plenty for a 30-minute race, but Lamsey has embarrassed my plans, making short work of this game. What a gamer. So the difficulty goes far beyond normal. There's like 5 or 6 difficulty levels, and normal is the second one. At higher levels, it removes or reduces death brushing, and at the highest level, basically there is no death brushing. If you get close to anything, you just instantly die. Which obviously that's kind of one of the unique mechanics of this game, is having that feature.
Another person's fighting the coffee mug. I hope they have good boss names.
I hope they have names at all.
I think I'd have a hard time even coming up with boss names like Contra names them. Like the NES English manual names them boring things. I like to go for the weird translation. Like there's a heart boss in almost every Contra game, and his full name is Heaven King Demon Breeding Heart Gamaramos King. Or you can just call him the Alien Heart if you want. Pretty
Yeah,
lame.
if you want to be silly.
Yeah.
That's clearly not his name.
Heaven King Demon Breeding Heart Gamaramos King tells you everything you need to know. God Car Machine Owenari is a Mega Man X3 boss that has Contra 3 energy for sure. That's when Bit and Bite combine into God Car Machine Owenari, which is just they turn into a metal horse, basically.
Like you do.
Oh man, we're getting sucked in. J Lambie. I love the way they bolt away with their gun.
What a clutch save.
What does it mean when the area remains hostile? Is that just the new stage message?
I guess so?
I don't think I've seen that yet, even though I probably should have.
Lamsey seems to have gotten an okay handle on using the jet engine gun to fly.
Oh man, just big cruiser comes down slamming.
I'll get you, son. Well, all of our players are starting to register some completions, showing that this game is not only completable in a reasonable amount of time, but quite quickly, in fact. So maybe if people are feeling it, we'll see a little more of this month. It just kind of depends on what people are into.
Yeah. 10 minutes left. There might be a Contra style. Keep comparing this to Contra, but this is a Contra thing. You didn't beat the game on hard mode. You don't get to see the true ending. This game might have something like that. You didn't clear enough fellas. You don't get the stuff.
I think one of the interesting things about how this game works mechanically is that even if the game is harder on some of the harder difficulties, if it removes the death brushing, meaning that you don't have the slowdown, that might actually be faster. So even if we said, oh, you can play on whatever difficulty you want to, it might still technically be faster to play on the harder difficulty if you can avoid the situations that would have gotten you killed without it. Yeah, so even though Lamsey got to the end of the third route, I think it didn't technically give credit for the third route being complete because one of the areas was still marked as hostile. I
Yeah.
think what might have happened is that there's a mechanic where I'm not familiar with it, but there might be a mechanic where you have to clear out the boss of the stage before leaving the stage. Like you're allowed to leave, but it leaves it in a hostile state.
Definitely seemingly marked some of them as positive. Like, nice work. Patty's currently getting that choice of stages. It's just like Outrun, really, when you think about it.
Exactly. It's just Outrun all over again. Go left or right, the choice is yours.
The teacup boss is back. There's an achievement for this game where you only kill bosses, nothing else. It's a very uncommon achievement.
Yeah, I think it would probably be difficult to make it through some of these stages without killing anything else. Since a lot of your main movement mechanics seem to be weapon oriented.
Dino Land. Okami's heading out. We got 5 minutes left.
Yep, Okami was, I think, our second finisher. Getting 2 routes complete. Is our race timer slow?
No?
Someone just finished the race and it recorded it with a time of 30 minutes.
I might have started it late. That's weird. No, the race started 30 minutes ago-ish. Maybe I started it later than you did.
Possibly. Or the timer is counting fast on the Discord bot or something.
It doesn't look like it is. I think either I just started it slow or I don't think it's on my end because I'm using my stream deck, but maybe. That would be weird.
Yeah, Lamsey got all the endings that are available on normal now, so if there's any question who won this race, Lamsey has played through it 4 times and gotten 4 different endings.
It's pretty neat, and I don't know what the original was like. This is a remake or something, right? DX.
Yeah, a small re-release for Steam. I found footage of the game from like 10 years ago, and it looks pretty much exactly the same. It was originally on, I think, Xbox and something else.
Pretty sweet. Everyone should pick up. It's free. Yeah.
Yeah, it's free. It's free. It's pretty cool.
If you're into Contra games, I like these indie Contras. They do good work. They usually understand fairly well what makes Contra good. Maybe better than Contra does. Sometimes a lot of the Contras are dreadful. You got the first 3, and they're kicking ass games. They're mean. They're kind of unfair. It ruins them a little bit, but they're really solid otherwise. They got great art. They're snappy. Contra 4 was a nice breath of fresh air after some real stinky games came out on the PlayStation. And then I think they maybe released a new one that was pretty good recently. I haven't played it yet.
A new Contra?
Yeah. I think it's called Beluga or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it.
It's on the Switch for $40. I've not played it. It looks like it's reasonably well received, like medium style ratings on this game.
Interesting. Yeah, it looks like all of our players are starting to wrap up. Yeah, we'll feel this out over the next few days, and if our players are interested in pursuing this further, then all the better. And if they're not, then we'll have a new race for you next week.
Yep. Thanks for joining me, Author Blues.
Absolutely.
Y'all have a good one.
Later.